we was all told that it was in my head. I had to be really, really careful with my body.
There was a lot of mental upset in between.
So I had some dangerous moments in training.
Seeing him go from being able to perform and train like that to really, really struggling.
It would have been so dangerous. So yeah, 2023 seems crazy that we're in 2023 already. I had a year off. I thought I was done with the sport. Mentally went through a bit of a tough stage. I thought I was done. Now coming back, almost you can say it's almost a comeback. 6 months in, I basically had to taper my training in very, very slowly, looking forward to comps coming up. So I've got a competition in just over a month's time, and training's going well, but I've had to be really, really careful with my body. I've had to really train smart, trying to really kind of taper in really slowly. So when I first started coming back in, it was literally once a week, potentially even less than that, for maybe an hour, hour and a half or so, then building up so gradually, just to like almost listen to my body, take care of my body, just to keep the motivation high. You know, there was a lot of factors that went into kind of building back in. And I think I've had to be mega careful for a long time, and I think I've got so much experience in terms of tapering back into training because of 2015. 2015 for me was the year I got glandular fever, and it was the year, because of glandular fever, I literally wasn't the same gymnast.
Now, one of Max's fortes as a gymnast was his ability to repeat and correct and go back and repeat, and his pace in his gymnastics. It was one of the things that really got him prepared well for every major competition. It was quite inspirational at times, if I'm honest. Sometimes we'd be in the gym and within 2 hours he'd done 6 apparatus, all of the repeats, all of the corrections, and some extra repetitions that he wanted to do himself. He worked very fast, very hard, lots and lots of success, and he was really good at, if he felt that something wasn't quite right, he would just do, without coming off the apparatus, would just do multiple turns. I think on high bar, there's a skill called a squat half or an Adler half turn. And I think this was never set, but I think he did 7 in a row once, just because he didn't feel right. So he just kept on doing a blind change and go, blind change and go. So it was quite inspirational to see him work like that, but I think that was really integral to how successful he was. I think it was a really important part of his career to be able to experience that for him and for me, but also get the work in prior to having glandular fever, because I wonder if he hadn't been able to do that before getting the virus, whether he would have struggled more once having the virus.
Going into 2015, beginning of the year, I just started struggling. Training started to go downhill. I was unsure why. I was coming in the gym feeling fatigued from the get-go. I was waking up, my body just feeling like it weighs an absolute ton. And it was really kind of confusing, and it was really difficult because 2015 was also a year that was a year out from 2016 Olympics. So it was almost a time for me where I wanted to be in the gym more, but a time that I was starting to really struggle and my training started to go downhill. The year was, you know, as the plans would go, would be English, British and Europeans. That was what would be the plan in 2015, and I went to the English Championships and I was trying some big upgrades, trying some new routines. Even though I was struggling in that build-up, I wanted to push through and see what I could do. Literally, I was just falling to pieces. I remember falling 3 times on floor alone. My body was just falling apart. That's what it felt like. I remember coming off a floor and just thinking, what the hell was going on? You know, I was like literally feeling my legs and just saying to Scott that my legs feel like jelly. I had nothing in them. And you can imagine obviously running for these new tumbles with just kind of nothing to give. I remember being at a moment in that competition where me and Scott was having a conversation and I was obviously struggling big time. I remember thinking and saying that if I was going to get beat, I want to get beat fair and square. I can't stop. I wanted to carry on the competition and just go with it. But Scott kind of made a decision to stop me there. I don't think we'd done last piece. I don't think I'd done last piece, which was vault, which was a really good shout. Like looking back at that, Scott made the exact right call because it would have been so dangerous. As time went on, I went to the next comp, which was the British Championships, not to compete. I went there to watch, to support the guys and be part of the team still. But I was told that if I don't put out a score, I won't be in the Europeans team. I won't qualify for the team. So obviously everyone could see I was struggling. I struggled to make my Pommel routine. I'd done it, yeah, it wasn't great, but I was struggling. And me, Scott, and my parents, my family, we was all told that it was in my head. And for me, I just knew it wasn't. I knew that my body was struggling. I'd done years, you know, I've been a gymnast for so long. I think you learn your body, you learn what's up. So I felt like in that position, there was something going on that just wasn't right. Time went on, obviously competitions started to, you know, make mistakes more and more. And as I went through, we thought, you know, maybe we should get this checked out. I'd done tests, I'd done blood tests, I'd done everything, and then yeah, it come back as glandular fever.
It was interesting because it wasn't a case of, well, he was able to do all of these numbers and go really fast and do the repetitions, and then all of a sudden he couldn't. There was a lot of mental upset in between. So quite often Max would be getting stressed because he couldn't do it. So I was dealing with that rather than the work, and trying to give him the encouragement to, it's okay, take a step back, see how we're feeling, try and build his confidence in a way that I didn't really know how at that time, because it was all new to me as well, especially seeing him go from being able to perform and train like that to really, really struggling. And it was sad, but a lot of the work was around how Max was feeling and how Max was trying to deal with that. So a lot of the focus went on that before starting to look at training and adapting his training. So once we went on that journey, we found out that he had glandular fever and that things were going to be different. That was the point when we had to start looking at, well, how are we going to adapt our sessions? How are we going to change things to cope with this?
I actually felt a massive, massive relief that it come back with something like that, because it almost just proved to myself that I was right in what I was feeling, and through that whole period I wasn't right because of this reason. If it would have come back as nothing, then I'd have been really questioning myself. But I think when it was said that, yeah, I had glandular fever, there's nothing that you can make glandular fever go away. It's with you forever. But there's ways that you can help it and ways that you can keep it at bay and ways that you can kind of be adaptable, find ways around it. So I think the most important thing at that time was have rest. It sounds so easy to just rest, but you know, you've got to remember we're a year out from Olympic Games. To kind of go away, completely switch off, take time out of sport. And I think it was 3 months that I kind of had out to completely rest and then try and go again. But that whole phase was, yeah, it was tough. But it was a really, really interesting phase that actually taught me so much. And I think it was a huge blessing in disguise.
I think my strength at that time was able to adapt quite quickly and able to, you know, set a plan, but not be so fixated on the plan that I lost sight of the goal. It was communication. It was because we had that mutual trust and respect already ingrained in our relationship, we was able to work very closely together to come up with a new plan.
Champion on the pommels, but which one will it be? This is Max Whitlock now. There's the Bujnari, nice, very nice. Shuffling back, good stuff. Got that good form there now. Up, on his up, oh! Well, this is turning out to be one heck of a pommel final. Information. Oh, 16.133. Max Whitlock takes the gold.
Looking back now, I owe a huge thanks to Scott, like hugely. Scott was a massive, massive part in terms of making those big calls at the right times, but also just going with the flow. Us both just listening to how my body felt, being adaptable, and with a good team around you, like I'm lucky that I've got. I think there's definitely ways that you can still hit your targets, still hit your ambitions, but just finding a different way to get there.